Good afternoon, good evening, Gopal. It is such a pleasure to be having this fireside chat recording with you today on a topic that is very close to our hearts as CISOs, security by design, especially infrastructure security by design. So for the audience, Gopal is a very dear friend and a thought leader who I have always looked up to. He is the VP and Chief Information Security Officer of the Auto Club Group of AAA. So welcome, Gopal, and I'm glad.
Thank you, Yogita. Thank you. And I think, like I said, we go back, and I see you as an inspiring person in this world of cloud security and cloud security posture management. The work that you're doing, I believe, is going to change the world, at least from a little way or a big way. We'll have to see how that turns out. But I think you're in the right track. Uh,
Thank
yeah.
you, thank you. I remember October 2021, right? I mean, that was when we were like vehemently nodding and like, that's the way to build systems and security by design it is. And as you called it right then and there, it's security by design at the design phase. And I'm like, Gopal, that's it. You got,
I've
we,
been talking about this, I would say more than a decade ago.
yeah.
And this whole idea about secure by design, I've been talking about, and now I'm practicing it. Right? I mean, there's a difference between, so I was in consulting, I was talking about this, but now I'm actually living it.
Yes, and that's exactly what I would like to talk about. Like, what are some of the initiatives for security by design that you are doing? What are the benefits? How are you leveraging it within AAA? So, without further ado, let's begin. Uh, so very first thing for the benefit of our audience, right? I mean, in your beautiful fashion, as always, Gopal, and explain that concept, like security by design. What does it mean practically? Like, and specifically on the infrastructure side, if you can.
I remember an interesting story. I think it is attributed to Isaac Newton. Maybe I may be wrong, but when I heard this story, I thought he has some sense to it. Like I said, I heard the story long, long ago, and so Isaac Newton was traveling in a train or something, and the neighbor was talking about gravity and physics and all those things, and they said, right, and he was probably reading a book, right, on some topic, and then finally, I mean, they said they decided to meet, so he invited him to his home. And when he went home, and I think he was talking about nature and the design and about the cosmos and the gravity. I mean, like, bigger things about, right? And then I think when they met, and that person was, no, 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 this is not science. And you're talking about the cosmos is by design, right? There's some grand design in the cosmos. So he was not ready to believe it. So I think they were supposed to meet home for coffee or something. He came home. The other person came home to Newton's house, and apparently there was this beautiful model of the solar system
Mm.
in his home. Right? I mean, like a sun and all the
Mm.
planets and all. It's just a model that was there. And he said, wow, that's beautiful. And how did it come there? He said, I don't know. It just came up. Then he said, no, no, how is that possible? I mean, it's your house. How can something just, right? So he said, yeah, exactly. That's the whole idea. He said, somebody has to design this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm not saying it's God, but there is design in everything that we see. If you believe that everything that we see in the cosmos is random and chance, that is not explainable. So there is some design. And I was really fascinated by this. Like I said, I don't know. I heard the story. I don't know the source. If you ask me to quote the source, I don't know, but I've heard this story. And I felt it a very powerful story. And that's when I started thinking things don't get secure, or things don't, right, by itself.
yeah,
You, by doing nothing, it is a conscious choice and a
yeah.
conscious design. I mean, if you're talking about systems designs and system thinking, these things have to be thought and designed, because nothing, fluke or chance. Certain things can happen by chance, okay, but not everything, right? So from a security, I said it has to be a secure by design, not by chance. So that's what I said. I mean, the whole code goes like secure by design, not chance.
Not by chance. What a fantastic code,
Right.
right?
And so it is a conscious decision. And there are certain things, and I think I expanded it. It has to be secure by design at design time and
Yeah.
secure by design at runtime or operations, right? Because both needs to be right. It's a conscious thing, because we need to look at both, right?
Yes.
You can't just design something and throw it away. That's it, because nothing is perfect. No
Correct.
design can be perfect. So you
Yes.
need to. So when I was talking about this 10 years ago, I brought in the concept of even nature is not perfect. The way that nature has evolved is through this thing called mutation.
Yeah.
I started bringing this idea that even in IT systems, we are not going to get that design 100% perfect, but we get as much as possible, right? We think this and make it as much thinking in the design, but make sure that at runtime we are able to mutate, we are able to find issues, whether it's vulnerabilities or design flaws or something, and then quickly mutate and come up with the next version, right?
Absolutely right.
That's the whole thinking. I mean, I'm just pouring my brain out of thought about how this whole idea of secure by design came to me like more than 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I remember you mentioned that when I brought it up, hey, I'm building this elegant solution, for a secure by design infrastructure. You were like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what we want. We have been, I've been talking about this, and uh, that design phase, and now even the mutation pieces that you bring about, right? A cancerous mutation is what we have to catch at runtime. Right?
Exactly.
Good
Because
mutation,
mutation can be good and mutation can be
mutation
bad,
can be
right? I
bad.
mean, I think, right? So any mutation that's going to harm us, we need to fix this.
It is
We need
exactly
to have, and I think the way that I have explained this is some of these things that can harm us I mean, like you talked about cancer, right? uh, we have to catch it early,
correct.
right? It's the earlier that we are able to catch some of these things, the better the chance that we have in making sure the risk is not exploited, or risk does not
Yeah.
uh, right, you're not facing with the risk,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Another quote of yours that you mentioned, right? I mean, misconfiguration is like the cancer you do not want because even the cure is painful. I'm like, Copa, that is so correct.
And I think
But
we know this, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of. I think I did give you a quote by mm, a famous architect, a building architect.
mhm,
I believe his name is Andrew Floyd. I mean, I
mm,
know the last name is Floyd, but
yes, yes, you did.
yes,
Yes, you did.
he said it's easier to uh, I mean, fix things on paper than
Correct.
once you build a building, you want to change something, you need a sledgehammer,
Yes,
right? To
ex-
change changes. Once a building is made and you see, oh my gosh, there's a fundamental thing, you need a sledgehammer, you need to break it down. Whereas it's easy to fix these things on paper because all you need is an eraser. You can fix, right? And that's the same idea, that it's easier and cheaper and better and less painful for everybody involved to get these things addressed during as much as possible during design phase, and not waiting to be deployed and finding, oh my gosh, that was right,
Beautifully said.
maybe,
Beautifully
right.
said. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely right. The remediations are expensive, right? I mean, statistically as well, like 30 to 100 times more expensive. And that's exactly, you need a sledgehammer. That's
Not just expensive, Yogita. Once you put in production, you have to make sure that you don't want to disrupt the business, right?
exactly.
And business disruption cause revenue loss. Any outage or anything that has got revenue losses and customers, I mean, if Amazon sites, I'm just giving any website, right, goes down for 1 or 2 days, just imagine not only the revenue loss, but also the customer, the difficulties for the customer. I might have ordered something. I mean, I'm just not calling about Amazon, but this whole idea about any business disruption uh, can cause customer dissatisfaction, right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely. And nobody wants that. I mean, not the CISO, not the CTO, not the CEO. Nobody in the company would want any kind of disruption. So does
And
that
there's a concept of trust too, right? Because when we do interact with IT systems, there's an inherent trust that we do, and I think that trust cannot be broken, because
correct?
once a trust is broken, it is very difficult to get it back, right?
Yeah,
No matter the amount of money you can spend in fixing all those things, but once you lose the trust, it's so difficult to win it back.
exactly. Philosophically, it is trust, and on legally, it is the SLAs that you're committing to the customer, right?
Yeah.
All of that. So another, does that mean, Gopal, that in order to get things right in the first place, right? Does that mean that security by design is always a applicable when it's a greenfield project, when you're going in and what it means in an example with cloud, it is like when you're migrating to cloud, when or from one cloud to the other, or for a new app or workload deployment. Does it mean that it is confined to that, or how, what about brownfields, people who have already gone to the cloud? How do they benefit from this thinking?
So you know that I like analogies, right? And
Yes.
it's easier to explain with an
Yeah.
example or an analogy, right? So uh, let's say that I'm building a new house in Chennai,
Mhm.
right? And when you're building anything new, right?
Yeah.
If a house is a good example,
Yeah.
and you may have certain requirements, like I want my kitchen here, or I want to have a puja room, or I want to have a room for kids to play, a game room or something. So your options on, you can decide where things can be, and right. So your options are, when you're designing in a greenfield, your options are much more, you have different options, you have a lot of options to choose from, right?
Yes.
Whereas if I'm already buying a pre-built house,
Yeah.
right, the foundation and structure is, there may be certain things I can change here and there, but I can't make big changes,
Right.
right? But even in a old house, if I see that the door is not strong or the window is not strong, right, I can fix those things, right?
Mhm.
Even though from a security perspective, whether it's an old house or a new house, right, there are certain things that we need to secure the old house too, right? So I mean, from that perspective, doing this secure by design in a greenfield gives the architects and the designers and the implementers and the engineers a wide variety of choices and
Choices.
a wide variety of options to choose from and design it
Correct.
from. But
Correct.
when you're doing this in a brownfield, you have some restrictions on the options, because you're constrained by a design already implemented, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't do this. It
Correct.
can be done, because
Yes.
all we need to know is, okay, what is this design look like, right? So we can go back and reverse architect, or we can create architectural diagrams from
Yeah.
already that pre-built, and we can say, hey, where are things that we need to fix, where are
Yeah.
the weaknesses and all those things, right? So from a cloud security, right, when I'm building my infrastructure, right, I can have the right policies enforced, I can decide what data it is going to have, I can decide what should be the right, what kind of protections I need, what should be the availability. So there are a lot of options, that what kind of compliance requirement you have. So there's a lot of things that you can think about that and build it at the design time before
Correct.
you're putting into production, right? But then the same things you can actually do it after, right? You can go back and look at how the design is, right, after in a brownfield thing, and you can say, hey, where the weaknesses are, and or what needs to be done to enhance or improve, right? So there is opportunity, there's always opportunity to
Yeah.
improve, right?
Yeah.
So it is important in both the greenfield and the brownfield. Your
Correct.
choices are more in the greenfield, your choices are limited, but there is value. There's
It,
value in both.
value in both. Exactly right. Well, very well said. You can remodel. You may be a little bit constrained on the boundaries of that foundation that has been already laid down, but you can bolster the foundation, you can remodel, yeah. And there's value in both. We do that all the time, right?
Yep.
So,
I mean,
so
that's why I think if you look at what was fascinating was when we first started, you started talking about the monitor engine, and then I can come and do this and look at you can put on different lenses. Are you compliant to this? Is it design? I mean, is it built to the best practices, well architected cloud? Because there's standards around, right? So even if you think about a building, there are building codes and building standards available. The
yeah,
good news is in even cloud, we have standards.
yes, that exactly right.
There's definitely very good standards, right?
Yeah.
And we can actually look, is it built to the standard? Is it built to the best practices? Right. So there's all these things can be looked in brownfield and uh,
And uh,
greenfield also, right?
yeah, the operative word, as you said, is value, right? What's the value is there in either cases. So what
And
if,
if and I think let me put it this way, right? I mean, because it's important because we are security professionals.
yeah.
Right? While we need to deliver value, we need to help the business to deliver value. We are also risk minded. We also need to look at the risk, right?
Mm,
So whether it's at the design time, so one thing is value,
mhm,
and the other thing is risk,
mm,
and we need to look at both. So
yeah,
from a risk perspective, right, because it doesn't matter, risk can be introduced in greenfield or brownfield, it doesn't matter. So
mm,
we need to be able to visualize, or we need to be able to know what the risks are in both these things,
yeah,
right? The the value is one dimension, the risk is another dimension,
totally right. Totally,
right?
totally right. Understanding the risks also sometimes helps you understand the value. Right? So it's two sides of the same coin. I would, so can you elaborate a little bit more on this value and the risk proposition, right? What are the benefits or the reverse? Let's look at it the other way around, like flip it the other way around and say, if we don't do it this way, what is the cost of continuing to operate the way we operate without security by design principles, right? So again, two sides of the same coin. What are the benefits, and what are we losing if we don't do it right? Uh,
Yeah. And I think from a value perspective, right? So cloud, one of the promises of
mm.
cloud, because we had infrastructure, we had hardware, we have data centers, right? I mean, IT was delivering value 25 years ago, right? Even before they came up with this, Forrester came up with this word cloud.
Yeah.
I think it was Forrester who came. I don't know how they came up with this word cloud, but that cloud, right? Even before cloud, technology was there, computers were there, distributed computing was there, internet was there, all these things were there,
Yeah.
right? But the whole idea about distributed computing, loosely coupled architectures, APIs, web services, all those things evolved over a period of time. And the key thing is when we are talking about cloud, it promised agility. You can do
Mhm.
something, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Is in like, it'll take 1 year to get an infrastructure or to build a project. You can build a solution within minutes or days, because that's because you don't have to worry about bringing up an infrastructure. You don't have to worry about networking. You don't have to worry about servers. You don't have to worry about some basic plumbing, right? You don't have to worry about connectivity. I mean, a lot of things is coming inherently, right? So you just have to worry about the business value or the business use case in this thing. So cloud does provide value and agility, right?
Absolutely.
And
That's right. Yeah.
right, so that's one of the key things. But at the same time, and I think this is something that I say that we have
Share,
been we
share
have been
responsibility.
misled, that we have been misled, or we have been lied to that cloud is inherently secure. You move to cloud,
Understanding.
right?
Yeah,
And even that is why I think we started saying, yes, there is certain things the cloud provider has to provide. So security in the cloud is a shared responsibility model where we talk about security of the cloud, in the cloud, and for the cloud.
that's
And
right.
at the end of the day, right? I mean, whether you're talking about the hypervisor and certain things, whether you're talking about an infrastructure as a service or platform as a service or a software as a service, the responsibility varies, but
Yeah,
it is definitely a shared responsibility model,
yeah,
right? And that's a value in it because you don't have to worry about all those things. These are given to you. You
correct,
don't have to break your head on this, right?
correct.
But there are certain things that you or me as a cloud consumer, right, has to take care of,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
That right. So that is where I think it's, and we are now seeing cloud misconfigurations is causing some of the most of the security issues are coming from cloud misconfigurations,
yeah,
right?
yep, yep.
And it's not only cloud misconfiguration. I think you and me have talked ad nauseum about this. You can have a baseline configuration that's secure,
Mhm.
right? And then things can go back. I mean, what do we know as a configuration drift? My wife keeps complaining, Gopal, I clean up the house and you make the house mess. I said,
Exactly right.
it, because things, once you clean up or once you have a baseline, you need to maintain that state,
Correct.
right? And maintaining that, unless you don't, if you don't maintain that state, it gets messed up pretty fast,
Yep, yep.
right?
But if you start with a very bad state, I
Oh,
mean, that's horrendous. But at least when you start with a clean slate, you will know you started with secure by design. You'll know when there is a something wrong or out of place, right? Very easily. Versus if you're starting on the wrong foot as with the messy room. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Because there are times when we walk into some houses or anything, and it's so messed up, right? Oh my gosh, we don't want to, right? It's the starting point of everything is very important.
correct. Yeah,
Your starting point is, I got a good start, then I just need to maintain it. The incremental thing, it's easier to maintain the state,
yeah,
right? Rather than getting I mean, like a totally messed up state. It's a lot of work to get it to spec at that point of time. And then unless you keep, and even if you start in a good state,
yeah,
we don't maintain it, it can go back to that state that we were talking about, a
correct.
very dirty state, right?
Yeah, exactly. If the habits are not there, right? If the processes, the
It is
habits,
hygiene. It
doing,
is. So, I mean, I think we have used this word in security and IT, the concept of an hygiene, right?
yes,
Like there are fundamental hygiene
yes,
aspect that has to be, whether it's cloud or whether it's non-cloud, right? Right. The hygiene has to be maintained,
yes,
right? And tools like yours help us see where the dirt is in the house, like it's like a Microsoft, right? And then we can fix it. We can automatically fix this. You guys probably have something like an automatic remediation, which is like a vacuum cleaner. Just clean, right?
yes,
I'm just giving you, it's easier, right? Because see, if you look at, there's a wonderful TED talk about the magical washing machine.
yeah,
And I think I was so impressed by that talk. It's from a Swedish professor, and
mm,
he was talking about the washing machine gave women a lot of time to spend with their children.
yeah,
Because, I mean, cleaning the house and washing the cloth, these are all chores that's very difficult. Just now with dishwasher and all those things, right? It gave women empowerment, and they were able to read books to kids, and
right,
able to spend more time with the kids,
yeah,
right? So, I mean, time is valuable, right? So by
totally,
when you're talking about auto remediation or you have less cleanup to do, that
Yeah,
means you have more time to do productive work.
exactly right.
The house look beautiful, or right, maybe cooking good food, or whatever it is, right? Because you have time to do what you enjoy doing or to provide more value,
Yeah.
right? That's the whole idea about
We have
cloud.
spoken so many times, Gopal, but every time you come up with a new analogy, and this one is new now, right? The washing machine analogy. I'm going to, add that to my repertoire of Gopal provided analogies.
No. It is. I mean, if you think about things, right? I mean, hygiene. I mean, we are talking about hygiene. We're talking about agility. We are talking about discipline of keeping things, so that we don't have to. We freed up doing mundane stuff,
Correct.
boring stuff.
Yeah,
So we as humanity can do fun stuff,
yeah,
things
exactly.
that's actually valuable, things that makes us happy, right? I mean, you can apply this to cloud. I mean, while I'm talking about this analogy, all these things, I mean, end of the day, we can provide more value to the business. We can
Correct.
provide more security to the business, right? We can provide peace of mind to the customer,
Yes,
right?
absolutely, absolutely right. Peace of mind to uh your own company, your customers, everybody. So that brings
So
me to the
security is a peace of mind, right?
it is.
I give my social security number, or I mean, everybody is worried. Is my data going to be secure?
Yeah,
Right? So when you have that peace of mind, I can trust this, I give this, it will be secure. That's a peace of mind, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. So this is where doing security by design and we're starting off with a clean house, right? And automating that whole process will require and freeing up from the mundane task of actually building that infra one by one needs or necessitates a little bit of culture change to move away from today's error prone processes. Needs the CTOs and the CISOs to come together. Now they do share a shared goal, which is, we want to keep this secure. We want CTOs inherently want to ship products fast. The CIOs want to keep the business agile. CISOs sometimes end up becoming like, hey, wait a sec, that needs to be secure before it goes out, right? So they are considered a lot of time blockers. They do want to work together, as my CTO would say. If my CISO would have asked me to push a button, and if that would have made him happy, I would have done it. But just give me the button to push, right? So they have to come together, though. They have to come together. In order to achieve that, that may necessitate a cultural change. So you and I talked a little bit about that in the past. How does a company go about ensuring that they will come together on a simple, in a singular platform in a single pane of glass instead of various disconnected tools? How does that culture shift? What can prompt that kind of a culture shift, which
Yeah,
is
eh,
both agree on and both teams want, but how do you make that happen?
correct. Because all of us have our own roles, all of
Mm,
us have our priorities, all of us have our goals and objectives, right? And these things are should be looked at from the enterprise goals, right? Even though my job is this, I should not be thinking, oh, this is not just right. We also need to look at collectively at the larger picture of the larger organization goals. So there's right, those are shared goals, right? And it is this when I'm only looking at this, I don't care about anything, right? So when you talk about culture change, there are two words, right? Change and culture, right?
mm,
Culture is collective, right? I mean, so uh, whether it's a family, whether it's a society, whether it's a state or a country, or right? I mean, culture is something that a group of humans together agree on certain things, or that's based on values that is good for the collective of the group, right? So that is where culture is. So culture is a very, I mean, we know what culture has been. That's how humanity and society has grew up on culture. Now,
right.
there's a problematic. Here's the problem: change.
Yeah.
We like to change,
Yeah.
right?
That's-
If we have been doing something like this for 10 years or 20 years, and I come and say, there's a better way of doing this,
yeah.
you might think, oh my gosh, is that what is it? Is it going to make me redundant, or is it I don't trust this? How can I know that what the new thing will be correct? So we have this thing. So I mean, that is where, when you're talking about change and when you're talking about culture change, you need to make people believe in
Mhm.
the goal of all those things,
Yeah.
and communicate that while as a CTO your goals and aspirations and things may be one, and CISOs we are like may have a different perspective, the CIO may have a different operational perspective, but if you look at the larger picture, we are all working for the same goals. So you need to go back and look at every organization's mission statement or vision statement, right?
So, so
Which means, right, while we have our own thing, but we are part, we believe in a larger truth or larger vision or a mission that we are trying to do,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So from a AAA perspective, our mission is we want to give peace of mind to our customers. I mean, so we are there. It's a promise.
yeah.
If my son gets struck in on the road, he calls me. I said, I can't help you. Call AAA. They will
Mm,
come.
yes,
And that's a promise we made. No matter whether it's a 10-inch storm or there's the weather is bad or nothing, no matter where you are, we will come and get you. That's
yeah,
a promise
yeah.
that you're making.
Very true.
Right? And that's a larger mission. So we believe in that promise. So
Mm,
whatever we're doing is to help our members,
correct.
right? It's for the greater purpose, right?
Correct.
So while I may, from a security perspective, I may have something, from a technology perspective, I want to develop and roll out new stuff, right? From an operational perspective, I want to keep the lights on. All those things are there, but from a larger perspective, we are all working
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think, did we lose each other for a
Yeah,
second?
we lose. I may have to edit this. So you were talking about the mission perspective of,
So when we look at the larger picture, the
yeah,
small differences, like the petty differences we have, will go
we'll
away,
we'll get that
will
away.
disappear,
True.
right?
Yes,
That
absolutely.
is where, and I think it has to be a top-down approach. It's all, I think culture change all boils down to leadership.
Yeah,
That's my perspective.
very true. Very true. Leadership. Yeah. And another thing you mentioned, I think I also remember transparency, right? Which is
That's why I think, I mean, exactly, right? So when I'm asking somebody to change, hey, here's a better way of doing, here is a more secure way of doing, we need to tell why.
why.
It's
Yeah.
not can be CISO can just go and do this,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That will not
Work.
work, right? Even our kids, when we say something, Dad, explain to me why. Why should I do this?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
there's an expectation of that transparency. We need to explain. And I think even in the world of AI, we are talking about explainable AI. And I mean, so you need to be able to explain
Correct.
why, right? Because that is the transparency, right? So opaque is, I don't know. I mean, I can't see anything. But
Yeah.
when it's transparent, you can, it's like you're pure, I mean, you're a transparent glass. I can see what's on the other side. I
Exactly.
can make my own determination. I feel more comfortable. But if it's opaque, I don't know what's behind it. So I get nervous. I have this fear, right? So transparency removes that fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And the mission orientedness, mission with, and how we are helping the strategy of the company, how
Yeah.
we are going to avoid the risk to that, achieving that strategy and achieving that company's mission. I think bringing it back to the company's mission, and that's just another, that's the absolute right way of doing this. I think I totally agree.
And
Uh,
let's not forget, I mean, again, I just want to, because we're talking about at a high level, but let's not forget when we talk about secure by design and
yeah,
cloud, right?
yeah,
So let's not forget, I mean, all these things apply to what you guys are doing, right? What you're
yeah,
coming to, right? So these concepts are not alien to cloud security, right?
correct.
Because cloud is new.
Yeah,
There is there are people who are nervous. I mean, if you're a server administrator for 20 years, you're now coming and talking about serverless computing.
Yeah.
What is that?
What is that?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So we need to actually make that, we need to help people have that leap of faith and come to this new way of doing things,
That's
right?
That's true. And that can only happen with a shared belief, shared mission. We are in this together. And
Yeah, we are in this together, right? And we are all working towards a common goal and a common purpose, right?
that's a beautiful, beautiful. I don't know what else, I mean, anything else that you would like as a parting, we are almost at 45 minutes right now. So
We can keep on going, right? But
I know we can go
I
on
think
another hour.
Yogita, I remember talking to you, and we talked about the monitor engine where you can actually plug this in, and within a few hours you can actually get the state of what is there. And we talked about, hey, can you help me with auto remediation? Can we talk about preventing configuration drift? Right. So you have heard, and you're actually building those. And I think that's when I said, while the monitor engine on existing cloud is really good, Yogita, can we work on a build engine, right? Secure by design, right? So you need both, right? I mean, I think, right? I mean, it's so that's why I think I'm really excited about the future
Thank
with
you.
what you're doing.
Thank you, Gopal, for that,
So
that plug. We are doing great things together, and I want to, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for this talk. And I think our audience is going to have enjoy this, because of all the analogies and everything that becomes so crystal clear with analogies as to why we should go about doing secure by design, and how we can bring about that change, right? It is possible.
people should try this, and you'll see how easy it is, right? And how, I mean, it's like eye-opening too, right? Because you're seeing, it's like a blind person getting vision, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Right?
Well, yeah.
Right? So I really wish you success. I think I'd never get involved in something unless I believe in it. Okay, because time is of essence. It's not that I don't have. I mean, my life itself is my job itself is so busy, but when I see something really exciting and something that I believe in, right? I really want that to succeed. So that is, I really wish you all the best, and I really like to see this really take off, Yogita.
Thank you. Thank you. With your support. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll do everything to make it that way.
We'll do this together. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. You said in the very beginning, I want to be there standing behind you when you become successful. So I still remember that from that first conversation on this we had. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Yogita.